It's the Tristan Law Show. If it's your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Tristan Law, semi-retired pro wrestling. Today, I'm your host. Terry Bollea, the man who played Hulk Hogan, has passed away. And the wrestling world, everybody's reacting in much different ways to it. You see, I didn't want to really comment on Hulk Hogan too much because if it's your first time here, I've made 3 separate episodes regarding Hulk Hogan while he was alive. And I felt that it would be way too hypocritical of me if I went ahead and made a tribute to him, or if I made an episode about him that honored him. But, you know, everybody just kept asking me, what do you think about Hogan? What do you think about Hogan? My own mother, she called me and said, oh, did you hear Hulk Hogan died? I said, yeah, I heard. And she goes, oh, how do you feel? And then I had to explain to her how I felt. And then she's like, oh, it's because he voted for Donald Trump? No, it has nothing to do with that. But I posted 3 episodes before talking about that. But I just want everybody to know that this episode here, where we're talking about why Hulk Hogan's passing splits the pro wrestling world, it's not a hit piece. It's not a tribute. It's more about understanding why fans are so split. You see, like I said, I've spoken on Hogan before. And if you really want to know how I feel about Hogan, I'm probably going to touch on it today. But I'm not going to really get into it and make a whole entire big deal about it. Because you know what? At the end of the day, somebody passed away. I wanted to be true to my feelings. I want to be true to who I am. I wanted to be honest. And the question was, how do I feel? We're going to get into that later on. But let's look at why some fans still cheer Hulk Hogan like it's 1987. Hulk Hogan, he wrestled in front of millions of fans just as pro wrestling became mainstream. I've heard it said before, and I agree with it 100%, that there is no WrestleMania without Hulkamania. Hulk Hogan was the person that Vince McMahon took pro wrestling, put it on his back, and said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make this thing worldwide. We're going to bring this from a thing that's only regional to something that's going to be affecting every single part of the globe. Hulk Hogan was the first, I guess, even though he wasn't the first superstar, because there was a superstar, Billy Graham, but I feel like Hulk Hogan, he was the first superstar, the first real superstar, larger than life. In the face of the 80s wrestling boom, WrestleMania, action figures, cartoons, it was Hulk Hogan. If you were a kid in the 80s, Hulk Hogan was who you listened to. Hulk Hogan was the person who you idolized if you watched pro wrestling. For me, I was born in the 80s, so I was at the tail end of Hogan's hype. You know, I wasn't there to live through it when he body slammed Andre the Giant in Detroit at WrestleMania 3, you know, and you know, changed the world. I wasn't there. I wasn't even born yet. I wasn't even born yet when Hogan was headlining WrestleMania 1. But Hogan was the guy that said, say your praise, eat your vitamins, and he became a cultural superhero. He became the guy that your parents said, you know what? If you're going to follow a guy, it's better for you to follow that guy. Because not only does he tell you to eat, well, he tells you to pray as well, too. Because of that, I think that Hogan, he brought wrestling into homes that never watched wrestling before. They had no clue what wrestling was. Everybody knew what wrestling was, but nobody really watched it. But Hogan just made it feel larger than life. From Gen Xers to early millennials, he was childhood for most. Like I've said this before, I was never really a big fan of Hulk Hogan because I was towards the tail end of his career, of his like active career when he went to WCW. Right? I wasn't really like a big Hogan fan, but I was definitely into Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was definitely into The Rock and The Undertaker. The nostalgia for some people, though, it's deep. It's a part of their culture. And for them, it's hard for them to erase. But for every fan that sees a hero, there's a set of fans that just see a betrayal altogether. Let's talk about the betrayal. Hulk Hogan had some racist comments that were leaked, and I use the word racism or racist very, very lightly here. I don't think fully that it's racist. Maybe it was bigotry, But the line between racism and bigotry is very thin. It's very thin. It's paper thin. So for a lot of black wrestlers, a lot of black fans, a lot of black people, people of color, a lot of people feel betrayed by Hulk Hogan. Hogan was, like I said, the guy that told you to eat your prayers and say your vitamins. The character on TV said, say your prayers and eat your vitamins. You know, that was the same as that guy that defeated Sergeant Slaughter at, WrestleMania 7 to save America? Like, there's nothing more awesome than that. But I think it was just a betrayal for some people. His apology, it felt really hollow. Hogan had the opportunity to say, hey, you know what? I messed up. I should have never said those words. It was in the heat of the passion. Because if you ask me, I think the number one thing that we all need to be in control of is our emotions. Be in control of your emotions. Don't just be letting your emotions run wild like Hulk Hogan used to say. Instead of saying, I'm sorry I hurt people, it felt more like, I'm sorry I got caught. You know, like Hogan said that he used the N-word, with his friends when he was growing up. And if you look at when he was born in 1953. So let's say that Hogan was 20 in 1973. I'm telling you, this is a black man. That there's probably no black man in the world at that time that's going to be your friend and let you call him the N-word at the same time. If I'm wrong, let me know. Let me know if you think I'm wrong. The comments are open. This is two-way. I don't just talk at you. We talk together. That's unless you're listening to the audio-only version of the Tristan Law Show, and that's different. But while you're watching live, I want to hear from you. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a preacher. I guess I'm the leader of your community. And your comments are all valid here. So whatever it is that you got to say it. Why people boo Hulk Hogan? Backstage politics. Maybe they felt that their favorite wrestler was buried. Maybe they felt that their favorite wrestler was held down. Lance Storm said on social media, Pro Wrestler Lance Storm, if you don't know who I'm talking about, he said that he won't celebrate Hulk Hogan, but what he will do is celebrate the people that he held down. Lance Storm worked in the same exact company as Hulk Hogan, so he was directly impacted by that. I think what added to the betrayal even more is that when he returned to wrestling like nothing happened. He returned and said that, I don't understand why people boo me. I think the reason why people booed him mainly is because he never took the time to repent. It's okay for you not to understand why they boo you, but do a little bit of research. You're a public figure, right? But I guess that when you look at the grand scheme of things, there's a lot more people that supported him than booed him. So he said, you know what? Let's not worry about the minority and let's just worry about the majority, I guess. But for some of us, Hulk Hogan, he didn't just fall. He torched the legacy for some of us. And some legacies, they break beyond repair, especially when the trust is lost. So why did wrestling welcome him back anyway? Let's talk about the industry's double standard. I have to say this. Pro wrestling, they protect their legends, even the problematic ones. Hulk Hogan said some really crazy things. And what happened is that he just went away. He took a back seat. They took him out the Hall of Fame. And then magically he's back in the Hall of Fame. Look, I am not saying under any circumstances that Hulk Hogan's career is not Hall of Fame worthy. It is 1 million trillion billion % worthy for the actions in the ring. I'm getting goosebumps. I watched on Saturday, maybe it was Saturday, Hogan versus The Rock, WrestleMania 18 at the Toronto Sky Dome. God damn. I watched that match. I watched the first 20 minutes of the match. And then I had to get ready to go to work because y'all know this is not my real job yet. I watched the first 20 minutes of the match and I had to pause it to walk out the house to go to work. And I said, damn, there's still 10 minutes left? Still? It was a phenomenal match. As a pro wrestler, semi-retired pro wrestler, as a host of the Tristan Law Show that talks about pro wrestling, look, it's a great match. Rex Ventura, he's checking in. He says, good morning, Tristan. I can at least respect Storm's take. While Hogan did apologize, the issue was the apology just kind of came off as, be careful, not to be recorded. Yeah. For me, it's the accountability piece. There's a lot of people in this world who have never, luckily, never had anybody say anything racial to them, have never been held down because of racial or because of the way that they look, something that they can't change. There are people in this world, I don't know any, but I think that I could have forgiven Hulk Hogan in my heart if Hulk Hogan had said, you know what, damn, you know what, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, and just leave it alone. Disappear for a while, then come back in and try again. I'd say, all right, no problem. But in the back of my mind, I always knew that when I saw Hogan, that the man, Terry Bollea, was the person that said the things that were not nice. Thank you for your comment, Rex. Hogan even said, well, look at Chris Benoit. They forgive Chris Benoit, but they don't forgive me. Look, listen, I think it's two separate things. Chris Benoit, if you ask me, is still a terrible human being, but you can't deny what he did in the ring when it came to wrestling. I watched Randy Orton's first match at SummerSlam where he beat Chris Benoit for his first World Heavyweight Championship that made him the youngest world champion in WWE history, and that was a phenomenal match. I watched the match leading up to that where Triple H and Chris Benoit had a match on Raw, and the winner was going to go to SummerSlam. And in that same exact night, Randy Orton wrestled in a battle royal to see Chris Benoit at SummerSlam. I'm not saying that Chris Benoit's not in hell. I think he's in hell. And he probably has gasoline draws on as well, too. Because what he did is terrible. As a man that has a kid, I just can't watch people do things bad to kids. Even before I had a kid, because I didn't have a kid at the time, I just can't see people do bad things to kids. It's not cool. It's not cool at all. Hogan tried to compare himself to Chris Benoit. Nah, that's not right. It's two separate things. Instead of trying to compare himself, what he could have did was he could have said, you know what? Let's just talk about me. Because I'm the most important person in the room. Nobody else is important. Let me hold myself accountable. Rex Ventura said that even if Hogan was sincere, what matters is if people think it's genuine. And too many that apologize come off as hollow and reminded them of similar familiar episode. Why'd you put two words that sound the same towards the end? Similar, familiar? What are you, a rapper? Dropping bars on me? Thank you for your comment. Yeah. I agree. When you're apologizing to somebody, because you apologize to them doesn't mean that they have to accept it. You know, sometimes, look, I apologize when I'm wrong because, not that I feel like it's the right thing, I know it's the right thing to do, especially if I hurt somebody. It's all about being empathetic, right? Putting myself in other people's emotions to see how they feel. Sympathetic, putting myself in their sympathy to see, how they feel. And it's just like, if somebody apologizes It's up to the person that was hurt to say, you know what, I accept your apology. Sometimes we tell people that we accept the apologies and we don't even mean it. But they took Hogan out of the WWE Hall of Fame, and then they slid him back in. So now here's the real question. WWE was never held accountable for it. Was it that WWE healed, or was it just PR cleanup for public relations? Look, if I had $1 to bet, I don't know Vince McMahon. Never met him. Would love to meet him. But I don't think that Vince McMahon is racist. Listen to me. Let me tell you why. Because Vince McMahon always there always was a Black History Month celebration. On Martin Luther King's birthday, when Raw came out, when a Raw episode came out, there was always the I Have a Dream speech. Since Triple H has been, since Vince McMahon's been gone, has that been the case? I don't know. But I feel that maybe it was a PR thing. Maybe you know what? Vince McMahon was offended by that. And Hogan came and said, listen, brother, because, you know, he has a lot of brothers. He said, listen, brother, let me go ahead and tell you about, you know, how I feel and, you know, blah, blah, let me apologize. They probably broke a little bit of bread about it and move on. But that doesn't mean the rest of the world moved on. I don't agree with cancel culture at all. I don't agree with cancel culture. But WWE, they slid him back into the spotlight. When you look at the Hall of Fame, though, right, for the WWE, it's not the hall of people that did good things in life. Because there are people in Hall of Fames all throughout the world, all through different genres that didn't do good things in life. Right? They probably had little moments that outshadow them. So I'm not saying to outright ban Hogan from the Hall of Fame because, you know, of the things that he did. But what I'm saying is, if you took him out the Hall of Fame, you should have never put him back in the Hall of Fame. You're still champion him as a 2-time Hall of Fame. You should have never took him out. Right? Maybe it was a brash reaction. I don't know. Maybe it was a knee-jerk reaction. It was probably the thing that people just did at the time because, you know what, that's what culture was like. Let's just take him out of the Hall of Fame real quick. It's too messy to have him in the Hall of Fame. I don't know. But they slid him back into the spotlight. Fans are expected to just forgive him, or our fans are expected to forgive him, or are the wounds still open? Whether you're watching live, let me know. Rex Ventura says that he apologizes for his long, alliterative, lyrical, lexicon. You did it again. Yeah! I am going to go see SummerSlam this weekend. I'm going to go to both nights of SummerSlam, me and my good friend. And I am looking forward to meeting you if you are there. I want you to reach out to me at The Real Big Tris on Instagram or, what's the other one? Threads. Just reach out to me. Send me an email at tristanlawshowmedia@gmail.com. I'm looking forward to meet the people that support me. The 497 subscribers that put me close to 500. Without the 497 people that are here now, I would just be talking to myself. People come and they watch this later on. People come and they listen to the audio-only version of the podcast here on YouTube or on Spotify. They read the newsletter. The newsletter is free. If you go to the link into the description, there's a whole entire bunch of links that you can go and check out the newsletter. We're building a community here of like-minded people that love pro wrestling, and today we are talking about why Hulk Hogan's passing splits the pro wrestling world. So, I've talked a lot about Hogan, and everybody keeps asking me, how do I feel about his passing? Where do I personally stand? You want to hear my truth? Let me give you my truth. I think there are two people in this world right now. Two people. And look, I wasn't going to do this episode. One of my friends came to me and said, yo, bro, he's not a wrestling fan, but he said, yo, bro, you should do this episode to where, you know, you talk about the history of Hulk Hogan. I said, nobody cares about the history of Hulk Hogan because they know it already. None of it is new. He said, oh, well, you should, you know, another friend said, oh, you should go do a tribute episode. I can't do a tribute episode. I buried the guy 3 times. So for me to come out and be like, oh, well, those 3 episodes don't matter, to me, it feels like I'm just trying to ride the wave. So I sat and I sat and I sat and I sat. I was like, you know what? Just wait and just see how you're moved. And I woke up yesterday morning. I could have did the episode. I wasn't sure, but I woke up. When I went to bed last night, I said, you know what? I'm going to do an episode, and it's going to be about Hulk Hogan. There are 2 kinds of people in this world right now. Because I see it all on social media. I'm heavy on Threads. Here is what I see. I see that there are people that champion Hulk Hogan's legacy in the ring, and there are people that, even though they champion his legacy in the ring, they don't really appreciate who he was as a person. But then there are people that champion his legacy inside of the ring and champion his legacy outside of the ring. Me, I champion his legacy inside of the ring. I 100%, if I was to see Hulk Hogan while he was alive in a locker room, I would thank him for his contributions to pro wrestling. Because without a shadow of a doubt, if it wasn't for Hogan, we wouldn't be here. It's straight facts. But as a person, the things that he's done and said in his personal life, I can't rock with that. There are some people in this world that don't even know the things that Hulk Hogan has done maliciously, or not want to say malicious, because he's not here to defend himself anymore. The things that Hogan has, the controversial things that Hulk Hogan has done in his life outside of pro wrestling. A lot of people don't know. Somebody at my job asked me, I know you like wrestling. How do you feel about Hulk Hogan? I said, well, I can get into the whole entire thing, but let me send you this video and you'll know exactly how I feel about Hulk Hogan. I respect what he did in the pro wrestling business. I would be an idiot. I would be disrespectful if I was to just ignore every single thing that Hogan's ever done in pro wrestling. But what I don't like is I don't like the way how he treated others. For me, it's big about how you treat the people around you. It's bigger how you can treat people who can't really do nothing for you. So it's like, all right, you know what? Everybody will still put money in your hands, but the people that don't do nothing for you, you poop on them. I don't think that's a responsible behavior. I think that legacy should be earned, but it shouldn't be protected by nostalgia or public relations. Like when I can separate the artist from the man, even when the harm was deep, because I'm looking at the body of work. I bump R. Kelly because there ain't nothing wrong with a little bit of bump and grind. I think he was a genius musician, but I think he was a terrible people to women and to probably people around him who we don't even know. The Cosby Show, I think the Cosby Show was just as important to America. No. I think the Cosby Show is just as important to Americana as Apple Pie, Friends, Cheers. When you, in a million years, when they're talking about iconic people, Michael Jackson is on the list, Hulk Hogan, Bill Cosby, but I don't support the things that Bill Cosby did in his personal life. Rex Ventura says, on the Benoit comparison, if he was still alive, I feel more people would be openly hostile to him. Yeah? Some tried to rationalize it as a mental episode, but if he was still around, he'd dig himself a hole. Yeah, you won't get a hand clap again. Yeah, definitely 100%. 100%, because look, I don't think, though, that mental health is a reason that people could just hide behind him like, oh, well, he was mental. No, you're still accountable for your bad behavior. And I'm not saying I'm not saying, Rex, that what you're saying is that people shouldn't be accountable for their behavior because they have mental issues. I think if you behave badly, you behave badly. That is it. The end.
Thank you.
But I think that if Benoit was still alive, yeah, people probably would still be a lot more hostile to him. And if you ask me, I think he took the sucker way out. He took the sucker way out. You did what you did. You said what you said. So if you did what you did, you said what you said, go with your chest. Don't just take care of the whole, don't just do in your whole family and then do in yourself, because then you escape accountability. It's all about accountability for me. Rex Ventura says he's 18. He never grew up with Hogan. It's weird, but he's almost like Luthez to me. Damn, brother. You make me feel old. Damn. All right, we'll rock with you. We'll rock with you. I have the utmost respect for what they did to the industry while not having a personal connection to him. I think, Rex, for an 18-year-old, you're very articulate. I like the way that you put your comments together. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, I agree. Look, there was rest, like, for example, like the Bad Street USA, right? The Fabulous Freebirds. I didn't grow up with them, you know, but I respect what they did. You know, to me, they felt like Luthez. You know, when I was wrestling, people was like, oh, you know, you got to watch Gorgeous George and watch how he was flamboyant back in the day. He was the Ric Flair before Ric Flair. Okay, I watch it, but it doesn't really, you know, resonate with me, you know, because like I said, like you said, like Rex said, Tim was like Luthez. He was too old school with him. You didn't have that connection to him. There are people who are probably like, you know what, like Rex. If Rex is 18, Rex was not born during the Attitude Era, and that's me doing that math in my head. And he lived close enough to the Attitude Era that he could probably find old videos of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, he was like, Rex probably watches like, why do they have black lines on the side of the TV? Bro, it's a long story. So I get it. I get it. I get exactly what Rex is saying. But look, let me close this out. Let me, as we say in the wrestling business, let me take this home, brother. Because what death really does amplify is everything that we already felt. Death doesn't erase controversy. It spotlights it, especially when you're famous. Everybody wants to talk about you. And a lot of people on social media, they feel slighted. A lot of people that look like me, a lot of black people. There's probably some black person that is watching this that says, you know what, I'm not going to support Tristan Law anymore because he said good things about Hulk Hogan. I look at it just like this. I don't think I'm saying good things about Hulk Hogan. What I'm doing is I'm having a real grown-up conversation about why people are split on Hulk Hogan. And I'm talking a little bit about why I feel that way, but I still honor the legacy in the ring. The thing that you have to remember when you're running around on social media saying what you say, that Hogan this, Hogan that, somebody last week, it's almost been a week, when Terry Bollea passed away, somebody lost a father, somebody lost a husband, an ex-husband, a stepfather, a business partner, a best friend, an uncle, a grandfather. So by people just wilding out on him publicly, like, you're free to say what you want. And I tell you that you should say what you want. But you're still going to be able to hurt the people that are living, people that never did anything to you. So when you're talking about Hulk Hogan, we just gotta be a little careful, because you know you're never that too far removed from somebody famous reading your tweet, your Facebook message, your thread. You're never too far from that. I said what I said about Hogan, but I handle it in a respectful way, and I'm asking everybody in my community to handle it in a respectful way. Because everybody processes icons differently. Stop arguing online. It is okay for you to not honor Hulk Hogan, and it's okay for you to honor Hulk Hogan. But the sides shouldn't be trying to convince the other sides why the other side should feel the side that they feel. No, just stop it. Just let people mourn in peace. Let people celebrate in peace. Let people grieve in peace. Some people are grieving over the fact that he passed away. And some people are grieving over the fact that he said these nasty things. Some people are not mourning the man. What some people are mourning is the illusion. When I say the man, I'm talking about Terry Bollea. That is the man that played the character of Hulk Hogan. Because believe it or not, even though Terry Bollea is not here, Hulk Hogan is immortal. Hulk Hogan is never going anywhere. You could turn on the WWE Vault. I tell everybody, everybody that comes on my channel, I tell you to watch WWE Vault. The reason why I tell you to watch WWE Vault is because if you are here in America, it's the alternative to the WWE network. Because we don't have much of a WWE network, and if you ask me, I think that Peacock is trash. So that's the closest that we get. Hogan is going to be immortal. He will live on different mediums like this forever. I even look at things like this, like me wrestling. If you search my name on YouTube, you might find wrestling videos of me. I'm going to be immortal because of this, and I think that people like Rex and everybody else that participates in the chat, you guys are immortal too because you're participating in things like this. I give you a space to where you can come in. I shout out your name and everything like that. You're going to be immortal. But eventually, the man, the woman, we have to go back to the dirt. I say that no matter where you stand on the life of Terry Bollea, that you should respect all perspectives. Because you don't agree with the fact that somebody of color appreciates Hulk Hogan and loves Hulk Hogan, it doesn't mean that you should just cancel them. The lady that I was talking to at work said that she was hurt by the fact that Hulk Hogan passed away because she remember hearing about him in the 80s, that she used to watch wrestling back in the 80s, but she stopped watching. She didn't know the stuff that Hogan did in his older age. Respect the perspective. It's okay for us to disagree. There's nothing wrong with us disagreeing. Imagine how boring this world would be if we all disagreed. What's up, Michael Craven? What's going on? I like people that come to this channel and disagree with me respectfully. Because I don't want a bunch of yes men running around kissing my ass all day long. I got a big ass, and I can fit a lot of lips on it. But I don't want people kissing my ass. I want somebody to say to me, you know what? I respect your idea, but look at it like this. Here is how I feel. And I will sit there and I will listen to your idea. Go through the comments. Go through the comments of the shorts here on YouTube. Follow me on TikTok at the Tristan Law Show. You see, I interact with every comment. I let everybody know, hey, look, you know what? Your comment is valid. Because sometimes I hear some dumb comments, but I don't invalidate somebody's comments because I respect their perspective. Now, I may say, hey, you know what? Look at it like this, but I don't disrespect their perspective. If somebody came to me and said, hey, I love Hulk Hogan, then you love Hulk Hogan. If somebody comes to me and says, I hate Hulk Hogan, then you hate Hulk Hogan. Who the hell am I to try to sway you? Respect the perspective. All I'm asking for people to do is just don't rewrite the truth. The truth is this. Hogan was iconic. If Hogan wasn't the man that was in Rocky III, if Hogan wasn't the man that was the main event in WrestleMania 1, what would we have today? Hogan was the same as that guy that told his daughter, if you're going to date an N-word, you might as well make sure you bring home a disrespect. If you're going to date an N-word, make sure you bring home a successful one or something like that. You know, he was the same guy that decided that he wanted to be, you know, in the pockets of Donald Trump. Whatever reason that you choose for why you love or hate Hulk Hogan, just don't rewrite the truth. Just let it be what it is. I invite respectful discussion. I foster a community to where we're all going to, I respect the perspective. Michael Craven says, agree or disagree with what went on with Hogan. He still should be respected for what he has done for wrestling.
Thank you.
I agree. I'm not saying for you to go to, for you to try to be best friends with Hogan if you saw him. All I'm saying for you to do is just, all I'm recommending is that you look past everything else and look at his legacy in the ring. Because I think his legacy in the ring is more important. Not as a movie star. I don't think Hogan was that great of a movie star. Not at all. I think Hogan was the person that put wrestlers, he was one of the first big WWE wrestlers, superstars in movies. And for a long time, he was the last one, right? Because where else would a common fit would be? A person that plays a character on TV every single week. And he should be able to be in a movie. Nah, bro, not Hulk Hogan. He was terrible. I don't think that it started picking up until The Rock started going into movies during that Attitude Era. The wrestlers were just so larger than life that they broke out of pro wrestling and became bigger than pro wrestling. And I think that Hulk Hogan was one of the first wrestlers that was bigger than pro wrestling. Like, when I mean bigger than pro wrestling, what I'm talking about is that you outside of pro wrestling, you know exactly who Hulk Hogan was. There are people in your family right now who don't know who Hulk Hogan is or understand what he did in life, but they knew he was the pro wrestler. I one time testing some young kids, teenagers, only a couple years younger than me, maybe 10 years younger than me. And I said to them, who's Michael Jordan? They told me, oh yeah, Michael Jordan is the guy that makes shoes. I asked them, who is Janet Jackson? And they said, Janet Jackson is Michael Jackson's wife. Some people just know some people as certain things. Janet Jackson was not Michael Jackson's wife. Some people just know certain people for certain things. And if you have a person that doesn't understand in your life why they hate or why, and you know what, let me not say hate. You can't say that you hate Hulk Hogan. You know why? You didn't know him. I don't think that you should hate somebody that you don't know. I also believe that you can't hate somebody that you didn't love. So if you truly loved Hulk Hogan and you say, I hate Hulk Hogan now, all right, maybe I get that a little bit. But let's remove the hate from our hearts. Let's respect the perspective. I'm going to be back. Okay, so this weekend is going to be really tough for me. You know, I usually come in, I usually do the recap and reaction for SummerSlam. I am going to be traveling to MetLife Stadium this weekend because I am going to go see SummerSlam, not only Saturday, but Sunday. I'm sitting in section 117. Come look for me. And I want to come home and try to do a live episode on Sunday morning before I head out to SummerSlam again. So I'm going to try my best to do that live episode, recapping everything live. And you know what I think I'm going to make? I'm going to make like some shorts and stuff of me being there and my, like, you know, how I feel. You know, some cool things, some other content. But I'm also going to try to do it again on Monday morning. If I don't see you on Sunday morning, I'm definitely going to see you on Monday morning. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Tristan Law Show. If you like what I did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much, Michael Craven. Thank you so much, Rex Ventura, for participating in the chat. I'm Tristan Law, and look, like I said, respect the perspective. Whether you love him or you hate him, you got to respect what Hulk Hogan did for the pro wrestling business. I'm Tristan Law. This is the Tristan Law Show. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.